In this video, I'm going to show you how to plan your wedding in 10 easy steps. First things first, once you get engaged, the first step that you want to take is you want to create an email address that is just for your wedding. I suggest Gmail because then you can use the drive and the sheets and the docs and all of that good stuff all in one area and share that information with each other and any vendors that are pertinent to that information, and keep all of your contracts localized in one spot. I promise it makes it way easier. Step number 2, we are going to make a dream guest list. That is, if there were no limitations, who are all the people that you would want to invite to the wedding. That guest list, we're then going to look at and create a range of people that, if we were having a small wedding, this would be the people that, this is where we can start making cuts. And if we were going to have a big wedding, this is where we can start making cuts. We're going to take that very, very, very basic range. There's no specifics. You don't have to stick in there, but we do need a range. And you're going to take that range and you're going to start looking for venues that meet that range. You do not want a 400-person venue for a 200-person wedding. It will look like nobody showed up. You also don't want to have a 400-person guest count and have to limit yourself to 75, because you're going to stress yourself out and be sad that you don't get everything that you want. So we want to find that range that's the sweet spot. If you're having a small intimate wedding, where does the guest list start getting cut off? If you're having a bigger wedding, where is it okay to start? You're starting to say, okay, maybe these people aren't totally necessary, but I would still like them if possible. So once you have that range, then we're going to take that range and we're going to start looking at venues where you want to get married that have that range possible. So at the low end and the high end, they don't have to be exact. You can have smaller venues and bigger venues. You can have whatever you need to just make sure you're aligned with that range. You're going to find 10 venues based on that range that pique your interest. Of those 10 venues, you're going to rank them based on what you learned online. And then you're going to visit the top 5. When you meet with the event manager, you're going to ask all the questions you need. Make sure that you know all of what's included, all of what's extra. If there's any rules about preferred vendors that they have to use, any extra fees, any extra overtime, anything that you're going to have to know about in advance, ask all those questions. Then you're going to take that information home and you are going to talk to your fiance and your family and anybody that's helping you plan this wedding. And at that point, you are going to decide what your number 1 and number 2 venue is and what your fiance's number 1 and number 2 venue is. Hopefully there's some alignment in that, and you can make a decision about where you want to get married. If not, you're going to repeat that step until you find a venue that suits you. Keep in mind that the venue usually defines when the wedding date is going to be. If you're somebody who has a wedding date that you already know exactly when you want to get married, and that's the date, and that's when you want your anniversary to be, and that's what we're doing, you might be a little bit more limited with space, or with time rather. However, that being said, if you know you want to get married in October or in a certain season, you have a little bit more wiggle room. So you can go to a venue and say, I really like this venue. What do you have in October? And they'll tell you the dates they have, and you say, great, I picked that. And that is now your wedding date. Well, now you have a semblance of a guest list, a wedding venue, a wedding date, and now you can start working on your wedding website if you want to have that. We're also going to move into choosing our vendors. We want to choose a photographer, a wedding planner, if you're going to have a planner, like a full service one, versus a 90, 30-day wedding planner, or just a day of coordinator. So you want to decide who's going to be on your dream team. Your dream team is anybody that's going to be with you, moving the trajectory of the day along the majority of the time. That's going to be your DJ or band leader. That's going to be your wedding planner, day of coordinator person. That's going to be your photographer and videographer if you have both of those. Those are your dream team people. Then you're also going to pick your glam squad. Who's going to do your hair and makeup? Who's all getting their hair and makeup done? Who's going to do this and who's going to do that? That information is your glam squad, and we're going to pick those out as well. Once we have all that information set, we want to make sure that our contracts are all aligned. So we're going to look at the venue first and find out what time we have to end the wedding by. Then we're going to look at the DJ or band and figure out how much time is in their contract and when the time starts and when it ends, to make sure we have enough time that matches the venue. Then we're going to look at our photographer and videographer, see how much time we have with them, and we want to make sure that our timeline gives them 20 to 30 minutes of open dancing in there before it's time for them to leave. We want to make sure that all that aligns so that when we're building the timeline, we don't miss anything and that we have to beg them for overtime and do all kinds of crazy, wild stuff just to get them to shoot our first dance because we messed up the timeline. So we want to make sure all that's aligned. Then once we have our dream team and our glam squad, we want to look at how much we owe people, when all of that is due, and how we're going to start making payments moving forward, or if we're just going to pay for things as we go, what all that looks like. If you don't know how to budget a wedding, or you don't have a budgeting tool, I sell one. It's super cheap. It's $7. It's what I use to help people plan their weddings, and it also starts informing your timeline. So it's more than just a budgeting tool. It keeps track of everything that you're budgeting. It shows you where you need money and where the money is allotted, and it also starts figuring out what all you need to build your timeline. So it's really a two-part piece, and it's really helpful. If you want a budgeting tool like that, it is $7 and it is linked below. Go ahead and click on that and you can buy it outright, and you'll get it in a Google Sheet straight to your email. Next up, once we have all of that completed, we want to start moving into the more creative side of planning the wedding. That's your decor, that's your food and your beverage and all of those things. I'd like to remind you though, before we go into that the two things that people talk about most at any event are the food and the entertainment. If they're going to be talking about that anyway, you want to give them something good to talk about. The food should be good, the entertainment should be good. Those two are defining factors in the night and should be prioritized. However, that being said, if you're more of a decor person and you want to put more money there, just move your money there and fix your budget and make that be the allotted amount. But just keep in mind that people will be talking about the food and the entertainment and how fun it was. So that's what we want to make sure that we keep in mind as we move forward. We also want to make sure that we plan our semblance of a timeline. So we're going to start with our ceremony. We're not going to do that at the end because then we're going to run out of money before we have all the things that we need for the ceremony. And that is the first impression of the event, which is going to set the tone for the rest of the day. We want to make sure our first impression and our last moment is set. Everything else in between we can move around as we need, but the first impression and the last moment are imperative to a successful event. So make sure that for your ceremony you have at minimum sound, you have at minimum water, especially if it's outside, and that you have it where you have music and it's comfortable and somebody can walk in and be comfortable and ready and excited to celebrate you. Then we move into the cocktail hour. What are we gonna have there? We're gonna have hors d'oeuvres, we're gonna have music, we're gonna have drinks. What do we need? You just check off the things off of your list about what you make sure that you need, and then we're gonna move into the dinner. What do you need for the dinner? We need food, we need alcohol probably, we need drinks, even if it's not alcohol, and we need to set up some time for toasts. We also want to choose dessert, cake, whatever it is that you're doing for dessert, and we want to think about some of those key moments like speeches, dances, first dance, cut the cake, those milestone moments that people expect to have when they're at a wedding, so that you want to have for your full experience. Then it's going to go into dancing, and so we have all that. We're going to talk about that with our DJ and our band. So now we're all set. We have an idea of how the night's going to go. Now we're going to move into the creative part of the planning. Let's start with food. If you remember in the very beginning, we made a dream guest list. That dream guest list gave us a broad range. That range of people is how we chose the venue. Now we're going to switch to the venue and say, what is our range from the venue? That's going to be a little bit more narrow from the range that we had originally found from our guest list. That range from the venue starts with their minimum and ends with their capacity, what their max is. So now you have a range that is specific to the venue, and now we're going to look at food and beverage, and that's what costs per person. So we want to take that range and figure out what the calculations are and what we're comfortable paying. Do you want to pay more money and have less people, or do you want to have more people and pay less money overall? So if you're going to do that, you want to calculate those things. How much does it cost for the food? Find your caterers. Do your tastings, find your food, pick a caterer that you really like and is really good food, and ask them what their options are on the high end and on the low end. If you're doing a course plated meal, 3-course or 4-course plated meal, that's going to be at one price point, but maybe that same caterer has a banging taco bar, and you can have that where you still get the good food. People go up and they get their own buffet food, and then you get the good food and still the good experience, and that's what that is. Or maybe that's not an option for you at all, and you for sure want it to be a plated meal, then you go that route. But figure out what those price points are for the top of your range, the middle of your range, and the bottom of your range, So then you can decide what you're most comfortable with when it comes to paying for food and alcohol, because that will constantly change based on your head count. Then we've now decided how we're going to start the invitations. The invitations, the A-list, automatic invitation, we're going to send those out. Then we're going to see where our range is, what our number is, what you're comfortable paying for your food and beverage and all of that. And that's going to be your sweet spot guest count. So you're going to invite that many people from the A list through the B list, or however far you get to go from your sweet spot. And then as people start RSVPing and you get no's, when you get 10 no's, you're going to start inviting 10 more people from the list in that order. And you're going to continue that until you hit your sweet spot where you get yeses for the amount of people that you have now decided at your wedding. Now that that's taken care of, you can then decide about alcohol. Do you want to have an open bar? Do you have wiggle room for that? Do you want to have beer and wine? Do you want to have 2 signature drinks in beer and wine? Are you adding a champagne toast? Do you need the extra things like a photo booth? Now's the time we're going to start looking at what other things you want now that we have the main stuff covered that's going to be taken care of. How do we keep all this organized though? We're going to start with 3 Rubbermaid bins. And those bins are going to be labeled ceremony, cocktail hour, and reception. Everything moving forward that goes for the ceremony goes in the ceremony box. If something starts at the ceremony and you also need it for the reception, it goes in the ceremony box and then it gets moved over later. Once you fill up that box, you can certainly get a bigger box or a new box, an additional box, whatever you want to do. But some things that go in the ceremony box are your marriage license, extra pens, and a first aid kit and sewing kit and all that stuff that you might need, safety pins and bobby pins and all that stuff that you might need the day of from the beginning. Some stuff that might go in the reception bin that doesn't go in the cocktail hour is like the bathroom kit where you have mints and deodorant and tampons and all that stuff that goes in that bin. That'll go in the reception bin. Also the card holder, things like that. Any kind of decor is going to go in the cocktail hour if it starts at the reception and is getting set up there. If it starts at the ceremony is getting set up there, then it's going to go in that bin. So that's how we keep it all set. And then you just continue to go at that point. That way it's always organized. And then if you need to look at something or reorganize a bin, you can do that as you go. Now we're going to keep moving forward and we're going to start talking about all the other little pieces. What time are you getting your hair and your makeup done? Who is going to be there? How do we get there? Do we need transportation? Is everybody driving? Do we have shuttles? Are there shuttles taking our guests back to a hotel or something like that? What is the transportation situation and how is everybody who is imperative to the wedding getting from point A to point B to point C? Are you going to have an after party or are you going to end it at the wedding? Are you going to have a brunch the next day? Are you going to have a rehearsal and rehearsal dinner? Who is required to be at the rehearsal and the rehearsal dinner? And what do you need for that? But now that we have all of the main key components of your wedding, and you have a semblance of how it's going to go together, we start at the ceremony and go down to the last song of the night, you are all set. So, if you can see how this is all coming together, then you're in good shape. If you feel very overwhelmed by this video, take a deep breath. That is okay. There are a lot of options for you. Go through and watch some of these videos and see if that helps you organize everything. You also might be a contender for the Wedding Lab, which is my online course that I've created to help people plan their wedding, on their dream wedding on any budget by just being strategic with how they plan it. Lastly, if you're really feeling overwhelmed and you want somebody like me to do a ad hoc consulting thing where we sit down together for an hour and a half and put all the pieces together for you to share with your other vendors and get all set, I do that as well. You're going to want to use my calendar link below to set a 30-minute free consultation, and we can talk about what you need and what the price point for that would be. Last but certainly not least, if you're still looking for a DJ or a band, I can help you with that absolutely. If you're looking in the Midwest for a band, I have that. If you're looking for a DJ in Chicago, Detroit, Austin, Texas, Houston, Texas, Florida, anywhere in Florida, New York, Boston, or Charlotte, or Atlanta, then click my calendar link as well and set up a 30-minute consultation for free, and we'll talk about what your needs are and get you set up with a DJ. That being said, I hope this video helped. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more insight on how to plan your dream wedding on any budget, and I will see you on the dance floor.